Hey, good morning, David. How are you?
I'm great. It's Sunday, mock draft season. We did our thing last night, right?
That's right. Well, thank you, everyone. Cynthia, good afternoon, good morning. Different sides of the country, of course. We try to do this Saturday show a little bit and closer in the morning. Sunday show, same thing. Grab a cup of coffee or something nice to sip on while you're watching. And yeah, every once in a while we'll go live in the evening. David does things, and we were working on his show last night. And David, you have been doing these mock drafts for the last couple of times. You're up to episode 4. Now you're working on 5, if I'm correct.
That's right. Next week it's 5. So
how do you feel the show's been progressing? I know the views are one thing, but as far as like the information and the knowledge that you've been gaining on the draft, because after doing so many mock drafts, you're kind of becoming like a wizard, in my opinion. So how do you feel?
Well, I honestly feel like it's progressed very well. My knowledge of the prospects, has definitely increased. And I'm at the point like this next mock draft, I'm going to be searching for gems that nobody knows about. The guys that we pick late in the draft that end up working out. That's going to be my main focus this next draft. So, but I really do I like how it's progressed, and I also like how whoever's on the show, they get to be GM for a draft, and you get to see everyone's different take on what we should do, right? So I think it's cool.
So you're telling me, because I've been there almost every time, but you're opening a door to somebody like Cynthia or Tommy Huxley or Carcast or David, potentially Corona, if they wanted to come on maybe for an evening for a draft, they could be the guy, huh? They could be Mr. GM.
They can be yeah, they could be GM for a draft.
Hey, that's kind of cool. Being able to say, I'm pushing the buttons, I'm calling out the shots, I'm taking this guy. Why? Because I like the way his name is spelled. And sometimes it breaks down to it like that. Well,
remember Levi shouted out the guy with the best hair at the combine last night. So, everyone has their thing, right?
It is sometimes it comes down to that, when they start measuring your hand size and how high you can jump, and then you pull that helmet off, or if it's the combine, sometimes they're not even wearing a helmet, so you can just see that all that glory, right? So looks isn't everything. There's some guys out there, some notable guys that we've had on our team that had no hair but could play. And again, hair or no hair, it's not necessarily important. But one guy that we got right now currently with a lot of good hair, or creative hair, right? Hufunga. How do you feel about Hufunga right now? It seems like he's got like a mystery injury. I don't know. I don't want to put it out there, but it seems like it's worse than it's being said, huh?
I honestly think so, because look at how hard they're looking at free agent safeties. That says something in itself. And it makes me wonder, that they said that he had a successful surgery, but is there something going on with his rehab that's not progressing well? Or, are we going to get just news out of nowhere that he had to go back in and get it reworked, which would obviously might even cost him the season, The
reason I'm bringing it up is,
yeah.
The reason I'm bringing it up is sometimes injuries happen and then it slows a player down, or sometimes a player doesn't miss a beat. And with us doing these drafts, these mocks and stuff, they do seem to keep taking safeties, like we're both saying here. And there's players out there that we've picked up in the past, and we are notable. We really are known for picking up players with injuries. And I would have to say the only one that I can really think of that came from college that we drafted injured was Frank Gore. And that was, he had 2 bad knees when we got him. And, that's why he dropped to the round we were able to get him at. So maybe Hufanga is maybe this injury hinders him a little bit, and they're afraid that it's going to, so they're going to look for his replacement before they need to, right?
They they might be just be doing this for insurance. I mean, Gibson, he hasn't necessarily announced his retirement, but the Niners haven't said, "Yeah, we'll just bring this guy back for one more year." That hasn't happened. We do have
Yeah,
Jair Brown. We have Odom, but he's primarily a special teams beast. And Hufunga, the injury, what's going on there is a big question mark. There are no reports. And it would be nice to have a report come out that his rehab is going incredibly well and he's on track to start the season. But maybe he's not on track to be there at the start of the season. That's why they're looking at veteran safeties in free agency right now, guys they can pick up for just a year for cheap, right?
that's right. Because we have to have a plan. We can't be out there without a plan, and that's kind of what happened to us last year with the defensive tackles and the edges. I kind of feel like that's why they had to start picking up everybody, because they had a plan at first, and people got injured, and then they started saying we need better help. We need better help, and we need more support. So moving into the future, again, I like Hufanga. Fan favorite. One, you can really recognize him right off the bat because of his hair. The big punt block touchdown return. He didn't have the block, but he did the return in the Packer playoff game. That will go down in 49er history forever. So hopefully, he can come back. It is when you see the team going in a certain direction, and right now it seems like we're more focused, and this is my opinion, but it seems like we're more focused at the safeties and corners than we are offensive tackles. Would you agree with that, or what do you think?
That's kind of what it seems like. I mean, we did sign a younger veteran guy that was with the Raiders for years,
Mm-hmm.
but and he does have game experience, but I don't see him. Hopefully pushes McKivitz to be better, right? I
Yeah,
mean that's the whole point of getting all these guys in free agency and the draft is create competition, make everyone better, and maybe we don't know what the draft plan is yet. We won't know until the draft happens and they're drafting players, right?
that's
But
right.
it does seem like they're kind of focused on defensive backs, even though I don't think our defensive backs last season were a problem. I when Hufanga went out though, the tackling became a problem, you know, and that's when a lot of missed tackles were starting to get noticed by us faithful.
Mm-hmm.
We were all like, why are these guys missing tackles? Because
Yeah,
Hufanga is normally right there to clean up the missed tackle, so we don't see it. We don't notice it because it's handled right off the bat. But he wasn't there. You can't teach instincts, and that's something Hufanga has. He has a knack for being in the right place at the right time. He's not the fastest, he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, but he plays intelligent, and that's something we very much missed last season.
yeah, he does. He plays like a guy who's been there before, and just like you said, maybe not the fastest or strongest guy, but because he uses his instinct, and sometimes he's been burnt because his instinct was wrong. But I would say for the majority of the time, the guy is on it, and he's got the right plan, and he's at the right spot. So let's go ahead and let me get your opinions on some of these players that we've had since this draft season, and some of these players we've picked on in the past, and we'll just go through fast. We won't spend too long. I know other probably people's done this as well, but this is David McNiner's opinion, and it's my questions. So it's going to be a different spin. All right. So let's go back to the Super Bowl, and we'll go as fast as possible. Not too fast. We want people to be able to hear us. But 1994 was our last Super Bowl, and somebody that's one of my favorite players, Bryant Young. We picked him number seventh, and he came from. He's a defensive tackle from Notre Dame. What's your thoughts on Mister? And we also picked up. I needed to know William Floyd, pick 28 from Florida, Florida State. He was a fullback. So what's your thoughts on Bryant Young and William Floyd?
William Floyd he could pancake a 300 plus pound defensive tackle. He was literally amazing at doing his job. You know, he
Yes.
was reliable, pass protection. No one's getting to the QB. Freaking when he left, my heart actually broke because he's my favorite fullback all the time. You know, because he was just that guy. He would hit the hole with determination and make sure that's opened up enough, just a sliver of enough for the running back to get through and get 5-6 yards. Um, yeah, when he left, I was just I was heartbroken. But Bryant
No.
Young, he's one of my favorite 49ers. You know, Ronnie, I'm a defensive guy. Ronnie Lott's the tops on my list, folks. You can't, you can't dog a guy that cut the tip of his pinky off because he didn't want to miss a game. You know, he just, how many times have you heard of that in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So, but Bryant Young, he's second. You know, he is incredibly reliable. Even if he's not getting the big sack numbers, he's still in the backfield getting pressures on the quarterback, taking on blockers, freeing up the other guys so they can do their job. He not only did the dirty work, he did the shiny work. So he was a great all around player. You know, upstanding member of society too. I don't think I heard him get in trouble once.
No, I don't think so either. Real quick, William Floyd, what number did he wear? Was it 40?
Yes,
Okay. And I think Fred Beasley wore 42, if I'm correct. 40
that's
as
right.
well. Okay. Now, Bryant Young, the only season that I remember him really taking a down, a step back was the I want to say the 97 season where he broke his leg. Do you remember that time?
I do. And when he broke his leg and went out, I was going, "Oh man!" You know, at that point, it's like that's our Super Bowl chances being carted off the field right there. Because our defensive line wasn't. We had some good players, but it wasn't as strong and as deep as it was earlier in that decade.
So our next player, we're moving up to J.J. Stokes, wide receiver from UCLA. I'm going to tell you the most notable thing that I remember him doing first. Well, that happened to him, and then I'm gonna ask you first. What's your thoughts on J.J. Stokes, and what can you tell me about him? Wide receiver at UCLA, pick number 10.
He was a big fella. You know, he was tall. He was like 6'6", wasn't he? Like 230, 235, something like that. He was big. You know,
Yeah.
at this point in the NFL, he would probably be a tight end. You know, that's
Hmm.
just the type of size he had. But he was supposed to be the next guy. You know, the next not necessarily the next Jerry Rice. I highly doubt the NFL will ever see a wide receiver like that again.
Hmm.
But he was supposed to be that next 1,000 yard producer every year, and big red zone target. And he just never ended up living up to that standard. You know, he was a decent number two, a really good number three wide receiver, but he just never lived up to that big, tall standard that he was drafted with.
And with that, I think the biggest thing, or one of the saddest things that's happened to him, is the disrespect that happened between him and Bill Romanowski. Bill Romanowski spit in his face. He did get I believe there was a penalty afterwards, but you don't want to see that. And it was live. I want to say it was like Monday Night Football, so everybody's seen it. Right through the face mask. It was ugly. But JJ Stokes, tall wide receiver, just like Mr. T.O. at the time. And yeah, I think you're right. Big wide receiver, probably be a tight end now. So in 1996, Niners traded their pick to Baltimore, the Ravens at the time. In 97, we drafted Jim Drunkenmiller, pick 26 from quarterback. He's a quarterback, Virginia Tech. What is your thoughts on Jim?
He was one of the biggest mistakes in the first round in our draft history. Was supposed to be the next QB. You know, we had Joe Montana, then we had Steve Young, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then so they drafted this guy to take over the reins whenever Steve Young decided to hang it up, and he couldn't. He didn't equate to the NFL game. He was a great college quarterback, but the NFL game just he couldn't do it. You know, maybe the players are too fast, too big, too strong. You know, a lot of times a quarterback will do fantastic in college, and then hit the NFL, and it's a totally different world. The NFL players are, we've heard comments about QBs saying, "Wow, these guys are fast," and it's just a totally different game than college is, right?
Yep. And yes, Tommy's correct. It's Drunken Miller, not Drunken Miller. But he did play. He played bad out there, so I think maybe a lot of people make fun of his name like that. 1998.
I've always said Drunken Miller.
I mean, it sometimes, I mean, like, hey, it is what it is. But no shots. But 1998, R.W. McQuarters picked number 28, defensive back, Oklahoma State. What is your thoughts on R.W. McQuarters?
He was supposed to be a top flight corner. He came in. He played with us for quite a few seasons, I think. But he ended up being, the second tier, third tier guy. Second, third string. He didn't end up living up to draft hype. That's there's a lot of that that we're going to be talking about. But in the draft, you hit players and you miss, right? It's not.
That's correct.
And because they're drafted high doesn't mean they're going to be a good player.
Absolutely not. It does not guarantee that. Absolutely not. Can I have a rain check for that? Like. So R.W. McQuarters, in your opinion, what was just not the guy then?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, we're going to move to 1999. Reggie McGrew, pick 24, defensive tackle, Florida.
I think he survived for a season with us.
I don't remember his name, to be honest with you. Not at this time, I was focused on the quarterback. Steve Young had just gotten hurt, and we had Jeff Garcia. So, and I think they had taken a quarterback in that draft too. I want to say they took Ty Detmer or something. So I don't remember.
Was it Carmazzi?
It might have been Carmazzi. It might have been Carmazzi.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy, I hardly even remember his name. I think he was with us for a season. I'm gonna have to Reggie McGrew.
Reggie McGrew.
And it was, I don't know. I don't remember his name. It's hard to say if it was an injury or if he just, might have showed up thinking I made it and just not put in the effort. That's something that we also see with some players, right?
Well, let me write his name down, okay? And then we'll just come back to him on a future show, okay? And what we'll do is we'll make a highlight of guys that we need to talk about a little bit more. So 1999. Okay, so the next player, I believe you do know this player, Ahmed Plummer, pick 24, defensive back. And we also have another player in 2000, Julian Peterson, pick 16, linebacker, Michigan State. So in 2000, we got two first.
So Ahmed Plummer, he was with us for a while.
Yeah.
He was a good player. It's just he was with us during that era where we were in transition from DeBartolo to the Yorks.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you folks, the first 10-ish years of that transition, I don't think that the Yorks knew what they were doing because our franchise was a mess.
Yep. And then we got Julian Peterson that same year. And that year we were able to, I think we got him to take care of Marshall Falk, if I'm correct. And he was a good player. He was a good player for us. We didn't have him as long as I would like to. But so in 2001, Andre Carter, pick number 7, defensive end from California. How do you feel about Mr. Andre Carter?
He was a good player. He was the 7th overall pick?
Yes. Pick number 7. Yep. In 2001.
But I remember he was with us for a while. And he was a good player, but I don't know He didn't exactly live up to the 7th overall pick status. He was more of a second roundish, number 2 defensive end type of player, but he was still solid, and it's hard to say. I'm trying to remember what actually happened to him. I know he has kids, you know, he
Mm-hmm.
does. He has kids now that are, about to hit the NFL. Wow, he had a long career. I'm just looking at it. He was with us for this essentially his rookie contract, which was 5 years, right?
Oh wow.
Had a season where he had 12 and a half sacks, but then the rest were like 6.5, 2, 4.5. But he went on to play with the Washington. They were the Redskins at the time, folks.
Yeah.
But he
The
went
team
on to play
formerly.
there for 5 more seasons, and then he went to New England, Oakland, and back to New England.
Okay, so in 2002, Mr. Mike Rump, pick number 27, defensive back, Miami, Florida.
Man, this guy was the next prime time. He was the next Deion Sanders, shut down corner and all that stuff, but he didn't end up being that good, you know.
Mm.
He was solid, but he wasn't like a shut down, lock up the number 1 wide receiver corner, and that's I think what we intended when they drafted him at that point.
Mm-hmm. Some names I can say better than other names, and if I butcher anyone's name, I apologize. If anybody in the chat wants to do the pronoun, where you bust out the syllables. So we're gonna throw this one out there. I believe I'm saying it correctly. In 2003, Kwam Harris, pick 26, offensive tackle, Stanford.
Kwame Harris.
Kwame, thank you.
And he was, an offensive tackle, supposed to be their blindside guy. And, he didn't end up being that good of a player. I remember the first time I heard him speak, I was like, he's got a Mike Tyson voice. Like this big mountain of a man started talking, and it's like he's got a Mike Tyson voice. Holy crap. Like I didn't see that coming. I expected him to be like that guy on the insurance commercials, all down low and like nah.
All right. So 2004, there was definitely some turnover with our team again. We lost our quarterback a couple years ago, and when we started to form a team, and here comes 2004, right? Pick Rashawn Woods, pick 31, wide receiver, Oklahoma State. How's your feelings? What's your thoughts on Rashawn Woods, the next 81?
He was with us for a long one season. Literally, we picked him, and he did not fit. He wasn't. He wasn't a good player. I don't know what else to say. He was literally with us for 1 year though, and that was it. He didn't. I don't think he made the team the next season.
He was supposed to be the next TO. He was supposed to be,
Yep.
But he just wasn't. Okay, 2005, because we did so great, they give us the number 1 pick, and we used it to select quarterback Alex Smith from Utah. Hey, that sounds Utah. You know anything about that place?
Yeah, I happen to live here. And the Utes are my favorite football team in college. So, but he actually came from a system the NFL does not use. It was Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was his head coach at Utah. And he uses a really run-heavy system where they're running the quarterback, they're running everybody, the fullback, the water boys out there running the ball. Everyone's running the ball, right? And I knew it was going to take a couple of years for him to actually make the transition to an NFL pro style offense. When we drafted him, but his his I can't remember the name of that test that they give draft prospects, but his
Oh,
intelligence was off the chart.
the cognitive. I can't say it. I can't say it today. Sorry.
Yes, that's the test though, but it was off the charts. And I think you remember this. Mike Nolan had Alex Smith come in, and he had Aaron Rodgers come in, and he like asked him to do some things, and just to see who's gonna do what I say, type of thing, right? And Aaron Rodgers kind of didn't exactly do what he said. Alex Smith was like opening the car door for his mom and stuff like that. And Aaron Rodgers was not like that. So that's probably why we drafted Alex Smith. But shout out to the kid. He's not a kid, but shout out to him. He had 7 different offenses in his first 7 seasons. So,
It's hard to learn a playbook when they keep on taking it from you and handing you a different one. It's hard to get on the field when you're injured. A lot of things, and then when you have multiple coaches, multiple coordinators, like we just said, even multiple players. For a long time, he didn't even have a wide receiver. It was really horrible. We had Frank Gore, Patrick Willis, and that was Alex Smith. That was it. That's all he had. So, Alex, we
also had Vernon Davis though. We had Vernon Davis back then.
Yeah. We did get Vernon Davis, and he had to mature a little bit. He did have to mature up a little bit, but that is true. So in 2005, you're correct. We had Alex Smith. In 2006, we got 2 picks, and you just named one. We selected Vernon Davis, pick number 6 from Maryland, tight end. And we selected Manny Lawson, pick 22, defensive end, North Carolina State. So what's your thoughts on Mr. BD, Mr. Vernon Davis? And then I'll get your thoughts on Manny Lawson.
Vernon Davis was a great tight end, excellent pass catcher, above average run blocker. The run blocking wasn't necessarily his forte, but he could do it. But he was a killer receiving threat. Good luck to defenses, but but his first year, I think we actually had Norv Turner at one point as our offensive coordinator, and Vernon Davis, freaked out and, really loved the fact that we were bringing in Norv Turner, and he was with us for a year and then got hired, I think, to be the Chargers head coach, if memory serves me well.
Norv Turner was a coordinator for the Chargers, I believe, and then he became a head coach. I think you're right. I think after Damian Thomason, that season happened, and was it Marty Schottenheimer? I think it was Marty. He might have been the head coach for it. Okay, but when he left, and after I think they had Drew Brees one more season, if I'm correct, or maybe they didn't. But then Norv Turner was the coach, and Norv Turner, he was a good coordinator, and I think in the right situations he would have been a really good coach, but they moved off of him too quick. We moved off of him. We brought Norv Turner in for our coordinator's position, and then let him go too quick. Same thing with, I think, Mark Martz. He came in as our offensive coordinator too, and we had a better season with Mark Martz, with Alex Smith, I believe, that year. It's just too fast. And sometimes, again, it's like what happened with Wilkes, sort of. You get a coach that was a head coach before, and they come in and they take a demotion, I guess, if you want, or a step back as a job placement, and they're always going to be looking for something bigger or better because they want to run the show again. Or you would think somebody who's been a leader would want to go back to being a leader again, or in that type of position. Okay, so in 2006 we had 2 picks. 2007 we have 2 picks. Oh, did I get your thoughts on Manny Lawson? I don't think I did.
He was at that point, I believe we started to run a 3-4, and he was kind of the outside linebacker / edge rusher guy,
Mm-hmm.
And he was a solid player. Wasn't going to defeat a team by himself, but he was still a good player.
Yeah, I liked Manny Lawson. I did. Okay, so we're going to go to 2007. And like I was just super excited, we had 2 a year with 2 first-round picks. We go to another year with 2 first-round picks. We pick up Patrick Willis, pick 11, linebacker, Mississippi. David, is there anything exciting happening with Patrick Willis? Anything that I need to know or the fans here need to know about Mr. Patrick Willis?
Who was inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Let's go. So you're telling everybody here, Mr. Patrick Willis back in 2007 is going into the Hall of Fame this year, or it has made it?
I believe he's already received his jacket and everything. He was a great linebacker, though. Man, I mean, talk about an athlete. He could go sideline to sideline. He could run with running backs, tight ends, and at the same time, he's hitting the hole and he's leveling you. If you're the running back. So Patrick Willis was a beast, and it's kind of sad that his career got cut short by a foot injury. But it's the NFL, right? NFL stands for not for long.
Not for long. And you know why? Because they have to do things for a short period of time and put pressure on certain, aspects of their body, and they're told to perform. And sometimes injuries happen, and the injury is severe enough, but there's not enough time for it to heal. And their job is to get back on the field, and they could either take the time and say they're injured, or they could play through it. And this guy probably played through it too many times, but he's now going into the Hall of Fame. I think this year he's going to be inducted. He's going in Canton, Ohio. It should be in August, I believe. And he should, I believe it's in August. And I've seen pictures. They've already got his jersey and stuff. I believe you're right. He's got his jacket. Now they're just, they're waiting for the ceremony. And that's why when he gets the mold of his head, I guess, like the enshrinement. I'm lost for the words right now. But in this year, we also drafted. So congratulations, Mr. Patrick Willis, for Hall of Fame.
I'm laughing at the chat. The chat's popping, buddy. We got Tommy Don, Mrs. Tony Culp, Bryant's better half. We got John J. Damian Lee, buddy. How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a few days. Jay in the Bay popped in. What's good? There's no way I'm going to be able to match his energy saying that. So,
no.
Steve-O's in the chat too.
Oh, and we got Itchy 95. Thank you, Itchy, for coming through.
Yep.
All right. But a lot of players sometimes can be bust, and sometimes they bust through and they make a significant moment in history and they do something great. Patrick Willis definitely made his name known, and a lot of players, they look up to him, and that's why he's going to the Hall of Fame. Joe Staley, we picked him up in the same draft in 2007, pick 28, offensive tackle from Central Michigan. What's your thoughts on Mr. Joe Staley?
Destined to be in the Hall of Fame. He made the Pro Bowl many, many times. He was a great player, great blindside blocker. For the most part in his career, he was reliable, although in 2019 he did get an injury, and that's when we saw a couple guys come in, like Justin School and Brunskill, and for both our starting tackles, and they filled in admirably for those games. But yeah, Joe Staley, he longtime 49er. I wouldn't be surprised if his number ended up in the ring, which would give us more numbers that players can't use, right?
I don't know about that one right now, David. I believe it's your opinion, and I'm gonna respect it. I don't know if we were going to put 74 up there just yet. If we would have maybe so that's what's ugly about this whole thing. It shouldn't be, you got us a Super Bowl, so now you're going into the Hall of Fame, and that are our Ring of Honor, because we have 12 members retired, and not all 12 of those have Super Bowl rings. So it could very well happen. I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad. So I agree. I could see it happening. In 2008, we picked 29. Quintwan Balmer, defensive tackle, North Carolina. Don't remember him. Not remember him.
He was with us for a season, Didn't make the squad the next season. We cut him, and he ended up going to the Seahawks, and he was with them for a year. He didn't end up living up to the hype.
So he left us and went up there to Baltimore. Baltimore. Okay. So 2009, we picked up Michael Crabtree, pick number 10, wide receiver from Texas Tech. I believe he was a Red Raider, if I'm correct. How do you feel about that?
Who are we talking about?
Crabtree.
Oh. Well, when we picked him, he had a foot injury going on, right? And he was recovering from that. Then he held out. He didn't sign his contract. He wanted more money, maybe more guaranteed money. So someone get a hold of him and ask him what that deal was about, because he ended up signing his contract anyway. But he was a pretty good player, but something he shouldn't have done is work gold chains during the game. Is like, especially playing against Richard Sherman, because he had a habit of snatching them.
Yeah, I was so upset with him when we got him and then he held out, because there was the whole idea is he was going to be good. He was supposed to be this really good wide receiver with really good hands. And then he finally came into a game, I believe it was against the Colts. And I believe he got hurt in that game, if I'm correct. It was a foot injury. And I'm just like, everybody wanted to list him as a diva. And then like he played into it. And I just was like, the whole thing with the chain and getting it snatched, and then bye, Felicia. You can go to the Raiders. I don't care. But hey, okay. All right. I'll keep my cool. Michael Crabtree, thank you for your service. All right. We're going to move to 2010. We were lucky again, David. We got real lucky. We got 2 picks. We picked up Mr. Anthony Davis from with pick 11 from he was an offensive tackle from Rutgers, and we got Mike Apati, pick 17. Guard from Idaho. What's your thoughts on Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis was a mountain of a man, and he had a lot of concussions, I think he was worried about like CTE, because at one point he retired and took a year off and then came back. And he didn't end up having a long career like a tackle pick that high should have. But could have been best for him though, because CTE is no joke. But he got a lot of concussions, and I don't know if he was just going in head first, and that's just not a good idea in the NFL.
No.
But either way, it happened to the guy. I mean, Mike Iupati was a great guard, and while he was with us, it was like, he was over on the left side, and between him and Joe Staley, good luck getting to the blind side of our QB. And then he left us and went and played for the Sea Chickens for, quite a few years, made many Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
I can't stand it when someone leaves us and goes up there. I just can't.
I think Potty, I don't remember him so much in Seattle, but I think I remember him in Arizona. But either way, I believe he went to both teams, because he's that good of a player.
Yep.
And he was just a really good run blocking. And Anthony Davis was a player that I believe retired on us and didn't let us know accordingly, or maybe I guess there's never really a good time, but we weren't able to fix that issue when he retired. He left us a major hole in the line. Okay, so 2011, we go and pick Aldon Smith, pick 7 from defense. He is a defensive end from Missouri. What do you think about Mr. Smith?
When it comes to on the field, the guy was a beast. Like at first, he was over there with the cowboy, so the cowboy would be causing chaos and mayhem, and he would sneak in a hole and get to that quarterback. Yeah. Athletically, he was just a beast, but he had great off the field issues, and including him and Colin Kaepernick getting in a locker room fight over a lady or something like that. I don't quite remember that full incident, but it did happen. you
Yeah, don't
know,
quote me on it,
and
folks, either. It was horrible. I believe there was a really nice car that was destroyed in the process, or dented up, or broken up really bad. And women, it's supposed to be what, bros over. Never mind, we won't say that. But you guys know what I'm talking about. You don't get in between your buddy and his girlfriend, or you don't take your girlfriend from your buddy. You don't do that. Hey, if it works out for you, great, but you probably don't have that friend anymore. And what worse happened is the locker room kind of got tore up after that. People pick sides, and what do you do after that? It's like, you don't drop the pass when it's coming from the quarterback that you don't like, right? But maybe you don't block as well. I don't know. I don't. This doesn't sound like it's right either way. So 2011, Alden Smith came. It really did help. But in 2012, we took a shot. And what's your thoughts on AJ Jenkins, pick 30, wide receiver from Illinois?
who?
AJ
Shout out to Trent Bulk. This is one of his picks. And I mean, the guy just, when he hit the field, he looked bad. We ended up trading him to Cleveland for, it was like bust wide receiver for bust wide receiver. And, neither of them ended up working out or having a long career in the NFL.
2013, we pick Eric Reed, pick 18, defensive back, LSU. What is your thoughts of the Tiger?
He was a good safety. He ended up with, not a terribly long NFL career, but he was around for quite some time. And, he was in the right spot at the right time. He had those instincts that you just can't coach up or teach a player, right?
Yeah. 2014, Jimmy Ward, pick 30, defensive back, Northern Illinois. So
well, at the early part of his career, he was known as Hospital Ward because, he spent like the first several seasons with us. He was injured, and eventually he came around and, they fixed enough to the point where there wasn't much that they could fix. So he was, all right for a few years. And he was a good safety for our current team. He was the longest tenured Niner at one point, but he was a good safety for our current team for quite a few years. And then, he left. Last year was our first without Jimmy Ward since we picked him. But then he left for the Houston Texans,
Yeah. Poor guy. They made him play almost every position. I think, I even seen him line up as a kicker one game. But he got hurt too, and I think he injured his foot, so he's out the rest of the season. So again, Hospital Ward, we appreciate you. You were stable to the team when you were healthy. You really helped out. All right. 2015, Eric Armstead, pick 17, defensive tackle. We got us a duck. From Oregon.
And he was, he had one great season with us in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And, that earned him a good big contract. But he was in there doing the dirty work and the not pretty stuff that doesn't gain stats. And, all kinds of people are like, look at his sacks. He doesn't get sacks. But he's in there eating up 2 blockers so someone else can get a sack, as he did. But and he had, I honestly think he had a pretty good career with us. Upstanding member of society. I believe he won the Walter Payton Award a few times if he wasn't in the running for it every year. And, this last season we asked him, hey, you missed 8 games last season. You missed 5 games this season. So can we get you to take a pay cut? That way we can bring in some depth, and, that way when you're gone, we're not missing you so much. And he said no. And he bet on himself and ended up going. He's with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shout out to my ex-British girlfriend for the next 3 years.
If you spend all your money on somebody really fancy, special, right? Supposed to be able to, last the whole season, right? But you only get maybe like 1 or 2 nights out of them. And then you look at your refrigerator and you're like, damn, there's nothing in the refrigerator. And you go to the cabinets and you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. We went out to dinner the other night, but all I got is top ramen left. Eric, we need you to eat cheaper, man. Come on. When you're not around, we want something other than top ramen. So shout out to Eric. He was a great player for us for a long time. But yeah, if you got to move on, you got to go get the bag. I just want to say thank you very much. And we'll miss you, but you being in Florida is probably the best thing for you. Shout out to Trent Baalke and Eric Armstead reuniting. I bet it feels so good. All right, we're going to move to 2016. DeForest Buckner. Hey, didn't we just take a defensive end, a defensive tackle? We got another duck, David. We got another duck. So you're telling me in 2015 we go and draft from Oregon. I guess we like him so much, we go back in 2016 and we draft in Oregon again. So we get DeForest Buckner with pick number 7. And we also got Josh Garnett with pick 28, guard from Stanford. So what's your thoughts on Mr. Buckner? And then we'll get your thoughts on Mr. Garnett.
DeForest Buckner is a great player, reliable, doesn't miss many games. He's good for anywhere from 6 to 9 sacks, pressures. He's a big, tall fella. And, it was great when he was with us, but then we ended up trading him and, for a first-round pick, and we'll talk about that first-round pick here in a minute.
All right, so Joshua Garnett, Mr. Stanford. How do you feel about the guard we got?
He was a good run blocker, but he didn't end up fitting, our system well enough to the point where he didn't. I mean, I think he was with us for 2-3 seasons, and that was it. He didn't live up to the first round expectations, right?
No, he did not. And that's why people are like, let's go get a lineman in the first round. Really? Okay. I don't think our history shows that. Okay, we can go back to a potty. We can go back to, it was a potty and it was Anthony Davis at the time, I believe. Yes, in 2010. But Anthony Davis, again, so we went 50-50 in that one. Okay. All right. So we're going to move to 2017. Hey, we get lucky again. Why are we getting so lucky, David? 2016, 2017, we get 2 picks. All right, so we're picking up a guy. We get the 3rd overall pick, Solomon Thomas, defensive end. So, whoa, we went defense. We went defense in 2015, 2016, 2017. Okay, so we're picking up Solomon Thomas, defensive end from Stanford. So we must like Garnett that much. We're going after another Stanford guy. What's your thoughts, Solomon Thomas?
Well, he did great at the combine. He upped his draft stock, and he was a beast at the underwear Olympics. Yes, he was, and ended up coming in the league and just didn't live up to the standard that for the 3rd overall pick in the draft. And truth be told, we passed on some players that at this point still hurt. Right? I won't mention their names.
Solomon, no. That'll be a whole nother show. Solomon Thomas, I think he got injured. I think he had a concussion one of his first games. And I think that kind of stunted his, or what we wanted to see out of him, right? So in 2017, we got 2 picks. We got the 3rd overall pick and we got the 31st overall pick. Reuben Foster, linebacker from Bama. What do you think about that?
Man, that guy, he was an athlete. He was a beast. He was supposed to come in and be possibly the next Patrick Willis, right? But he ended up getting cut for off the field issues. And he is the reason why the Niners will not take a chance on anyone that has off the field issues. I think it's honestly a big reason why Charles Omenihu isn't with us anymore.
2018, Mike McGlinchey, pick 9, OT, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. I think this could be one of your favorite players. So I'm going to give you as much time as you want to talk about Mr. McGlinchey.
great run blocker. You know, when it comes to run, if we were running the ball every down, you know, he would have been one of the most productive, you know, offensive tackles in the league. And PFF kept giving him like high scores. And I'm sitting there going, are you guys actually watching the game, or are you just, you know, have your AI watching and, oh, look, he did good here and there, we're going to score him high. But when it comes to pass blocking, I don't think he could stop my grandma. You know, there were moments where it was like, you know, the last season when he was with us, the Washington Commanders at that time, that he was we snapped the ball, the play was going for a good 2-3 seconds, and he's still in his stance. Like, where are you, buddy? You know, where are you? Like, you hanging out in the Caribbean at this point? And is that where your mind's at? You know, it's like the play's happening, people are moving right in front of you. It was like I was going, what? I was watching that play, going, what exactly is he doing? Then he started blocking. I think he was trying to keep a mosquito from getting to, you know, our QB. That's, you know, just what I think. I don't know if he stopped him though. We'd have to ask the QB if he ended up with a mosquito bite.
Crazier things have happened. It could
Yep.
totally be
Hey,
possible.
don't forget the Mika Parsons incident in the playoffs too. You know, that was like WWE style choke slammed, and a 6 foot, you know, 250-pound guy is not supposed to be able to do that to a 6'8" pushing 300-pounder. You know,
It's horrible. It is. It's one of those things you don't want to admit to, but it's all everybody does. It's kind of human nature. When you see somebody fall, you know, like trip and fall, you try not to laugh, but sometimes you laugh, right? Well, you know, even when it's like your family member, you try not to laugh, but you know, you kind of maybe if it happens, and I'm not laughing at you. It's funny. We all trip and fall a little bit, right? Well, same situation that happened with like McGlinchey. You know, that's our guy, right? We don't want to see anything bad happen to him. But when Parsons pushed him over like that, what do you do? You know, you're like, damn, come on, man, you're my boy, Blue, get back up there. You know, like, so I don't know. I mean, hey, I'm glad he's, you know, still out there. I had some weirdness thinking about him too when I seen him, and it was before training camp, and he was really skinny, and you're supposed to be a lineman, and it's like, oh man, you know, you would think this guy's going to be like a brick wall, you know, like something, but when you're really skinny, I don't know what you're blocking. But so that was a great experience for the Niners. Good guy, been on the team for a while, and now he's on to, you know, we could
Denver
say
Broncos in a big contract.
yeah,
Yep.
and you know, he got his bag, and he's over there in Mile High, so more power to him. In 2019, we pick up defensive end from Ohio State with the number 2 overall pick, Nick Bosa. What's your thoughts?
The biggest contract in San Francisco 49er history as at this point. You know, he is one of the top edges in the league. Had an off year last year, but you know, when you don't show up for OTAs and training camp, that stuff will happen, right?
That happens.
It does. But I mean, he is a beast of a player, and you know, one of the pieces we're missing is who's on the other side of him, you know, which is something that was actually addressed.
Oh man, well, wow, he's wow. All right, so fingers crossed. Hopefully everything works out, and this year he puts out a better. It's not effort. It might have just been like you said, you know, maybe held him back a little bit, and but yeah, yeah.
You
Okay,
know what
so
he
we're gonna
needs
move.
to do though? The
What's
one
that?
thing he needs to work on, he needs to go take acting lessons. That way, when he's being held, he can make it really dramatic for the ref, so the ref has to call it.
David, my daughter, we were watching the Super Bowl, and he's getting held this year in this Super Bowl, and she's like, "That's a hold! That's a hold!" I know, but you can't scream loud enough for the refs to hear. You can't. I mean, I know, I can hear it, I see it. You don't have these
Hey,
work,
they were
but
in
come
Vegas.
on.
That's not like, you know. 1,000 miles away if you yell loud enough.
All right. So Nick Bosa, we got in 2019. In 2020, we tried to make something happen. We got lucky again. Javon Kinlaw, pick 14, defensive tackle, South Carolina. And we also picked up Brandon Ayuk, pick 25, wide receiver from Arizona State. What's your pick? What's your thoughts on Mr. Kinlaw? And then I want to hear what you say about Ayuk.
Well, due to his knee issues that he had in college, and I'm sure that there were some medical reports about that. Maybe the 49ers thought, oh, no big deal, we'll get it fixed. But he came in, his rookie season, he was actually looking okay, but he didn't really hit the field for long periods of time until last season. And then he actually took off some weight because he didn't want to wear on his knee. So he was effective during some plays last season, but there are some plays where he's just getting pushed out the way, the get out the way, man, type of
Move,
thing.
man. That's right.
And he didn't live up to his replacement. He didn't live up to that. DeForest Buckner, he just did not live up to that type of standard with us. Good rotational player, but now he's with the Jets. And shout out to their terrible turf and his knee. We'll see if he holds up.
Well, supposedly they replaced that turf, and supposedly, but it's still the same place. It's still the same. Yep. Still, I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Maybe there's still a body somewhere in this, but that's a different stadium. But maybe. So there's supposedly Jimmy Buffett, Jimmy Hoffett, I think that's his name, the mob leader. He's supposed to be buried over there in the old Giant Stadium. They said he was buried
Jimmy
on the field. There's supposed to be yeah. So maybe his spirit moved to the new stadium, and that's why the field's still the way it is. I don't know. So we have Brandon Ayuk, pick 25, wide receiver, Arizona State. We also got him in 2020. How do you feel about him?
Great player. He was an all-pro this last season, and getting 1,300 yards and being the third or fourth option on the offense, it's a hard thing to do. Right now we got the contract standoff going on, and in typical 49ers fashion, we didn't get him re-signed early. It's going to be a late, and I would like to see him in camp. Shout out to 49ers brass. I would like to see him in camp. So, hopefully they get something done sooner than later.
Well, if they don't do anything, it hurts him. If he does anything and decides not to play, it hurts him. We own his 5th year. We have the right to franchise tag him the following year. And hey, folks, I'm going to do my best Michael Keaton Batman impersonation. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. We'll franchise you the 2nd year. So 5th year option, 6th year franchise, 7th year franchise. So if you bought an Ayuk jersey, you don't have to worry about getting rid of it. Don't have to worry about putting it in the closet. Wear it every day of the week because Ayuk ain't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. And if he wants
on
to,
top of that, if he chooses to sit out the season, we actually then his 5th year option doesn't count. It will actually be next season. And then it's like 3 more years of player control. And we do have 3 years of player control. So those who say we don't have any leverage, yes, we do. And I got to shout out Crazy Juice. It's his birthday, buddy. He turned 26.
Oh, dude. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Crazy Juice.
Well, I'm 26 now. Did not see you say happy birthday, but happy birthday, Crazy
If it's not
Juice.
today, then happy belated birthday,
So, good morning, sup? I'm 26 now. Well, I hope you are. And if you are 26, congratulations. That is awesome.
I'm going for more coffee, buddy. I'll be back in the flash.
No worries. So, In 2021, folks, I'm going to get David's opinion here and thoughts, of course, but I'll just let everybody know. Trey Lance, pick 3, quarterback, North Dakota State. This is a really interesting year in 2021 because there were so many quarterbacks that came out. Not all the quarterbacks necessarily got to play right away. Not all those quarterbacks started, and some of the quarterbacks started and maybe didn't go to necessarily the right place. And that's kind of how it works with the draft. Players go to teams that are really bad, and they're supposed to be that guy that comes in and just can fix everything, but they can't because there's more than one position. There's more than one need for most bad teams. It'll be really, really seldom and random that a player will go to a team and they are that missing piece. So, David, in 2021, we were just talking about how the quarterbacks there was multiple prospects and they still are great, great. They have aspirations to be good. You can't really call any one of them a bust quite yet, but it just really depends on their future. And even if their future doesn't pan out, it doesn't mean that they're a bust. I guess it's just your opinion at that point. I don't really like the term bust so much, and you don't either. I know that. So in 2021, the Niners moved up to pick 3, and we drafted Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State. What's your thoughts on Trey Lance?
He didn't get a chance. He was a raw prospect with high-end potential being drafted to a team that's ready to win right now. So, just saying that, what we didn't develop him. He didn't get the playing time he needed to actually develop into that prospect that we thought we were getting, right, with us. And then, we got that one guy with the Mr. Irrelevant is what a lot of folks call him, which he's Mr. Relevant now, folks. Mm-hmm. He's Mr. Relevant. And he came in and he showed that he could efficiently run Kyle's system and, had some tools that the former starter, James Richard Garoppolo, didn't have. He could score it out of the pocket, and the kid's got some wheels. But, Trey Lance, we didn't give him what he needed to develop into the QB that we thought he was going to be. He got hurt in that Seahawks game, was done for the season. And then, here come James and him taking off with 200-300 pounders and on one foot, that didn't exactly work out. And then here comes Brock Purdy, our rookie QB into the game. And everyone's like, oh, he had one good game. I'm not willing to say he's the guy moving forward. And then he took us all the way to the playoffs. And, there's a lot to the story of Trey Lance. Right now he is with the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot of Cowboys fans thinking that he's gonna beat out Dak. At some point this season, he will beat out Dak and take the starting job. I don't know. It's yet to be seen, There
definitely is a lot of people rooting for the guy. And it's, yes, one, because of his personality. They get behind him. He's a good guy. But then, he does have a lot of athleticism too. And people want to see it pan out. Now, I don't know if the hype would be the same if he wasn't selected 3rd overall. I don't know if he would have been selected, like Mr. Irrelevant, if his name would have been as vocal, or as spoken as loudly, right? If people would have noticed him, because Kenny brings up a good point here. Lance left college too soon. He did. He didn't start playing quarterback until high school. And the colleges that was looking for him and offering him positions and scholarships didn't want him to come and play quarterback. They wanted him to play safety. So when your heart's set on being the pitcher or being the catcher, I want to be a kicker, right? You want to be the wide receiver, but I want to play shortstop. I want to be the goalie. But the college says, we don't want you that position. We want you to play this position. Well, you have all rights to say, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere that, I just want to be a dancer, like in my best John Travolta, impersonation, right? I just want to be a dancer. Well, you can dance anywhere you want to be, but here, folks, we're not asking you to dance. So a lot of the colleges that Trey Lance was trying to go to didn't give him that shot. He went to Minnesota, well, not Minnesota, NDSU, North Dakota State University, and he same school as Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz is really the guy that put that college on map, like got him noticed because they were a smaller college. So he comes out, he goes to his team, something bad happens to him too. He gets injured. His team goes on, wins the Super Bowl. Now he needs a new team to go to, right? Because what happened? The team moved on. They moved on. You get hurt, the team moves on. Trey came into our team first. It was the last place, the preseason game of the year, before the season started, and he breaks his middle finger. You can't ask the guy to throw the ball like in the middle of the season with a broken finger. And they had to start him. They made him run. They made him a running back, a running quarterback playing running back, right? And then he gets hurt in that game because he would have started the next game, even though he lost that game. He played well enough, they thought, or they wanted to give him another chance, but he hurt his knee. So here comes Jimmy back into the monsoon game against the Colts. And, who beat us there? Carson Wentz, North Dakota State University guy, right? And he had bounced around to a different team. And then that name comes up again because he beat us again this year. So now, this year we have an opportunity to go after a quarterback. You would think we go after a quarterback, like somebody like Wentz. No, they go after the passer not, which is fine. It's not my choice. But it's funny that you let our backup quarterback go to the team that releases the quarterback that we sign. We sign him cheap, and they sign him for a lot of money. Sam Darnold gets $10 million to play in Minnesota or be the backup, and we sign the passer not to $2 million, a guy who was cut by the Cardinals or traded by the Cardinals. Same season, I don't know, David. They have a plan. They definitely have a plan. But Trey Lance, they moved off of him because he got hurt. Jimmy stayed around. They should have cut Jimmy or released him, but it's all about money. They didn't do it. Jimmy was on our team, and we were lucky enough to have a backup quarterback that we weren't paying anything to. And really, that's probably his saving grace is his contract, because we had Nate Sudfeld during this time too. And we were supposed to pay Nate Sudfeld $2 million or $7 million. And he still got paid his money, but we got cleared off the books for it because of him getting traded. So, okay, we go from 2021, pick Trey Lance, 2022, 2023. 2023, the trade was Miami's. 2022, the trade was Miami's because of the deal that we made for Lance. So we didn't have a first round pick. So now, David, is 2024. The Niners now have a first round draft pick. Are we taking a quarterback?
You took Bo Nix last night.
I sure did. I took 2 quarterbacks last night, and I got a good grade for both of them.
Now, and you remember last year there was some speculation that Kyle wants to keep a cheap QB room, so he'll just keep bringing in young quarterbacks, that we don't have to sign to that humongous contract. But finding a QB, look at what we've been through, just trying to find a QB that will get us there. And yeah, James Richard Garoppolo, he got us there, but he also had a playoff game where he threw 8 passes. So I think Kyle had trust issues with him, but still started him over the other guys, right?
Yep. And
now he's got his QB. I don't think he does not have trust issues with Brock, and he'll let him throw it 39 times in the Green Bay game, right? It was the same team. 8 passes for James, 39 for Brock. Now, if that doesn't show you that Kyle trusts Brock, right? But at this point, I look at our offensive line like, okay, you need to retool. So you need to retool here, because if you're going to be throwing it 39 times, you need guys that can pass block. And we keep, our history, we've been drafting offensive linemen that can run block. And, maybe we'll teach them how to pass block. But at this point, we need guys that can pass block, and we'll teach them how to run block.
Oh man, if you look at our draft picks over the last couple of years from where we started, we draft defensive tackles and defensive linemen pretty heavily. Those are the ones that seem to
Mhm.
work out. Offensive tackles, offensive linemen, guards, they don't, I don't know. We've gotten one or two of them out of that group. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to figure it out later in the draft. But that's what's fun about speculating and going through it and looking at it and trying to find some kind of similarity or some kind of wrinkle, right? You're like, what are they doing? But you can't always say, well, this and this is going to add up because these guys back here aren't on the team anymore. These guys right here, maybe or maybe not know these guys or know their direction, but like the Niners were on that West Coast offense. There was several years we went away from that. Now we're trying to come back to it. So David, I don't know. I mean, like maybe go back to basics, but at this point, we don't need too many things out there right now. It seems like I'm calling it right now. I think we're taking Kool-Aid, David. I think we're taking Kool-Aid. And I think if he falls to us at 31, the Niners will take a
Well,
safety.
hold on, Kool-Aid. Okay, so the big question: what flavor is the red Kool-Aid?
It's cherry. You don't go and grab Kool-Aid and say, "Oh, I'm getting the red flavor." The flavor is cherry. The only thing you can do, I'm going to get the purple one. No, you're getting grape Kool-Aid, right? You don't get pink Kool-Aid. You get strawberry, right? You get so David. The reason orange Kool-Aid is my favorite is because I love oranges. Gotta say it. Gotta say it. It,
Yeah.
it. it makes sense. It's orange. It's orange flavor. It's the same color. I mean, like they make it easy. And folks, if you don't understand what we're talking about, I'm going to put out a short later. Not today. I'm working on it. It might not be just a short, but we're going to put together this fantastic thing. There's an issue with Kool-Aid, and it's not an issue. Maybe more people should drink it. Maybe more people should. I don't know. Bring back the Kool-Aid points. If you guys remember those on the back of them, they had the little Kool-Aid points, and then you can, you know, collect enough of them to get a pitcher of Kool-Aid. The nice glass Kool-Aid man. But yeah, that's who I'm thinking. David is our pick, Mr. McAllister. That's the guy.
It's a so we can mock draft the 49ers over 200 times, and still not get it right. Like last year, I was doing mock drafts just for fun, not on YouTube, just for fun. But now I'm doing a show about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and I only got one player right out of all the players I picked, and that was D Winters. Literally one player right, and I probably did 100 mock drafts. You know, um, you do not know what they're going to do, what position group they feel that they need to improve on, or and it always seems like we pick defensive linemen, and at this point, I feel like we're good with the free agent acquisitions and the guy we got via trade. I feel like our defensive line depth is good. We do not have a glaring need to draft a guy early at this point, especially not knowing what we have with Robert Beal Jr. and Drake Jackson. Not seeing the finished product there. Like, why should we draft a defensive end early? You never know what the Niners are going to do, though. We invest heavily into that group. And I would like to see some heavy investment into the offensive line this draft. Those first two picks, maybe we're looking to trade up. Maybe we're looking to see if anyone falls to us. You never know. I've traded up. I've done it all. I've traded up. I've, picked the best guy available for our position. I ended up with the best center in the draft during one draft, right? I mean, it's crazy. I've traded up before the draft started and got hosed. Both the guys I was looking at weren't there. Shout out to the Cowboys for jumping in front of me and picking my guy, And then I ended up drafting the best tight end in the draft, who's a rated top 10 prospect, right? But I ended up drafting him because it was just the best player available, and the thought of having a double tight end set, right, and with our offensive scheme, that would be beast to have two tight ends the defense has to worry about. It might even open up things for wide receivers and other players, right?
So, okay, so this is the thought, because we were talking about it, and it's been an idea. Like, everybody wants another tight end, right? Because we want Kittle to be able to run out there and catch and pass, and well, not pass, but receive, right? We want him to be able to get the ball in the middle, Kittle in the middle, right? And then we want another tight end, right? So, how many players are we going to have on the field at one time? Who's coming off the field? And is our O line going to be able to stand there and block? Because when people start thinking about like 4 wide receiver sets, we can't do that. We can't have 4 wide receivers and then have our running back and our fullback and our 2 tight ends out there. I mean, what you got to have so many linemen. You got to have 5 linemen. You need your quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 players right there. Then you have 4 players as your wide receivers. That's 10. And then you have 1 running back. Okay, take the running back off, put a tight end out there. Now you have 5 wide receivers. Okay, you have no running game. Our quarterback's not that mobile to be like, okay, like if he has to run, yeah, sure, but he's not a running back. He's mobile, but he's not a running back. So you can't do that. Or if you do, so then we go to 3 wide receivers, right? And we can put 2 tight ends out there. We still have 5 wide receivers. It was 5 receivers, but we have no running back. Or you know what I mean? Like at a certain
fullback.
Yeah,
no one in the backfield. That's right.
So then you pull another wide receiver off, and now instead of having 3 wide receivers, now we can have a running back in the backfield, right? Okay. Or we can have that double tight end. So what I'm getting at is eventually we have to have a player out there, weapons out there that are going to be utilized and be able to overcome who we have, no matter who's blocking. So, like, I know what you're saying, but the reason Kittle is being held back a little bit is because he's blocking sometimes. And the dude's a better blocker sometimes than our guys that's on the line. That's what's sad is Dad taught him how to block when he was young. And he said, if you can learn how to block, you'll get a job in the NFL. The dude learned how to block, even though in high school and stuff, he looks skinny, and you can tell in college, his first rookie years and stuff, he looks really skinny, but he put on, you got to understand too, he's a young guy growing up. He's getting into his body, man shape, and started getting into the weight room. But that's the same theory. It's like, you become a really good offensive tackle, really good blocker, anybody's going to want to draft you. Anybody, because you're essential. We need you at any time in the game. We can use you. That's why Juice is really, really valuable, because he can block and he can catch. So when you have somebody like Juice on the field, or you have somebody like Kittle on the field, you're adding an extra lineman.
It is like having an extra lineman out there. And I mean, with Kyle's offense, it probably would be taking Juice off the field, put the tight end in. Then you have 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back, because you know how big the check down is in Kyle's offense, right? And then, the second tight end, like the guy I drafted specifically, he's fast and big, so he could go in motion and go out and be the slot wide receiver, right? And that creates a mismatch to the defense, because the defense is going to put a linebacker out there. But when it comes down to it, I would love to see better offensive linemen, because better offensive linemen makes it so we can do whatever we want with our position group, right?
Yeah.
If we want to go empty backfield and we have 5 offensive linemen you can count on, then, you can go empty backfield and just make the defense go, holy moly, what are these guys about to do, right? And then do a QB draw, run the quarterback. But it's just one of those things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It makes sense. If you start with the O-line, and this isn't the Niners, but we're just talking about any team. If you start with the O-line and you have good guys who can block, and who, not everybody can run block and pass block, but if you have guys who can do both, then the players on the field that are, special players, run, tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, you know what I'm saying? The key players, right? The ones that we want to get the ball to, then they can go and do their job. They don't have to sit there and block. And when they do have to block, then yeah, we're confident that they can get it done. David, I think we had a good show. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Everybody, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to both channels, and definitely check us out. Turn your notifications on. David's got shows popping, like he just said. The mock draft, you can be a part of it. You'll probably see me there as well. I like jumping in and being a general manager. Put a different tie on or my hoodie on. And yeah, you never know what could happen. We might take a long snapper or a kicker, or we might just take a quarterback just to mess with another team. We have fun. But tomorrow, I think we're on your channel as well, if I'm correct, for Monday night.
Niners Coast to Coast on my channel. It'll be Bryant, me, Ty, and a special guest, TL, Taryn Lewis. We're going to have him on tomorrow night, so should be interesting.
Definitely tune in because TL's he's a great guy. He works with a lot of different people, and we get to get him on David's show. So we'll have him on the Niners Coast to Coast with everybody. We appreciate that. And it's like 5:15 my time, 6:15 David's time, and 5:15 California time. So, folks, thank you again. And and let everybody know the jersey giveaway was a success. Look forward to doing something like that in the future as well. Miss Mariah from 49er Faithful Elite won TL's co-host. So definitely you get a chance to tell her congratulations. And yeah, guys, with that, have a great Sunday. David, thank you again as always. And with that, I will see you here soon. And I'll see everybody else.
Go Niners. Go Niners. And as Corey Davis would say, F all 31 other teams.
Bye, everybody.